What if a simple wish turned into your worst nightmare? Let's say that during the New Year's celebration, a group of friends finds an old book of wishes at an antique store. The book promises to fulfill any wish in exchange for payment or something of value to the individual requesting it. Because they are fascinated by the possibility of achieving what they have always wanted, they decide to do it without thinking about the consequences. What begins as a night of happiness and hope swiftly devolves into a horrible experience that will test their love and sanity. The evening begins with laughter and toasts. The festive mood is apparent as the youth gather at the home of Clara, a mystery-loving person who has always been fascinated by the paranormal. After a dinner filled with tales and aspirations for the upcoming year, Clara talks about the books she found in an antique store. As she opens the antique book, her dubious but inquisitive companions urge her to show them. The thickening air sends a chill through them. Without hesitation, each individual formulates their desire, and the yellowed pages are filled with the aspirations of others who have yearned for something more in their lives just like them. Clara longs for true love. Miguel wants to be a successful professional. Laura wants to exact revenge on those who have wronged her. And Javier, the most pessimistic person in the group, just wants to be happy. At first, the desires seem to be gloriously fulfilled. That following evening, Clara meets a charming man at a local party. Laura watches as Miguel gets a fantastic employment chance that propels him to the top of his career, while her opponent faces ruin after a series of unfortunate events. However, the companions soon discover that every pleasure has disastrous consequences. Clara is being pursued and held captive by a spirit of jealousy. Every time she is with her new boyfriend, she feels a dark presence lurking in the background. Miguel is enmeshed in an unfair cycle of rivalry and betrayals. His co-workers seem to be desperate, want him to fail, and will do whatever it takes to do so, even if it means adopting unethical tactics. Laura discovers that pursuing retribution simply makes her own rage and misery worse each time she enjoys some person's suffering. Something dark within her grows more raging as night falls and midnight approaches. The companions find that the cost of trying to reverse the book's effects before the year is out is higher than they had expected. Laughter turns to tears, joy becomes despair. With each chime of the clock, the gang grows increasingly nervous and terrified. Clara remembers the warnings that are printed all over the book. Be careful what you wish for. In the midst of their inner agony, they decide to consult the same book for guidance on how to undo their wishes before it's too late. While searching, they discover ominous tales of those who had used the book in the past and how their wishes were transformed into lifelong curses. Meanwhile, the spirit of jealousy begins to manifest itself. The dark shadows stalk. Every time Clara tries to approach her new love, her heart rushes when she sees the darkness at the end of the hallway, where she hears unsettling whispers when she is alone. Miguel's co-worker Seaman unpredictably destroys his work, and they must give their lives to reverse the effects of the book. In the midst of his confusion and growing concern, Javier decides to find out more about the book's roots. He searches through its dusty pages for answers, discovering tales of others who made similar wishes and how they ended up trapped in endless cycles of suffering. Each chapter reveals more about the dangers of human desire and lessons not yet learned by their forebears. As a last resort, they decide to undertake a ritual using the same book as a guide, and each stage of the process forces them to confront their inner demons. Clara is forced to face her fears of love and loss as she realizes she is willing to sacrifice all for that passionate but dangerous love. Miguel feels hollow as he gains more authority and discovers that he has lost his true friends in the process. Therefore, he needs to learn to let go of his obsessive desire. Laura must reconcile with her past in order to go forward without resentment. She begins to understand that harboring resentment just encourages her enemies to continue the ritual by thinking back to the serious harm she endured at their hands. Shadows begin to dissolve and negative energies seem to wane, but the situation is more nuanced than that. Time is running out and the ceremony must be completed by midnight. The anxiety rises when Clara feels the shadowy presence coming again. She hears ominous whispers full of mad promises as she attempts to focus on the instructions for the ceremony. With only a few minutes remaining, the ceremony was eventually concluded as the bells began to ring. With tears in their eyes but lighter hearts, Everyone had to give up their selfish desire that they had made at the beginning of the evening, as the room was filled with a flash of light, as they witnessed the negative energies progressively fading away. They are both worn out and relieved when the bells stop ringing and the new year starts, because they have gained important insight into wants and the potential repercussions of them. Knowing that their friendship has been put to the test but also strengthened, they gaze at one another with a mix of thankfulness and sorrow for what transpired that evening. They are re-energized and prepared to face a new year together at dawn, as golden light streams in through the windows that light up the disorganized room. However, this time they sensibly choose to close the book forever, promising not to be carried away by impetuous and fleeting ambitions once more. Therefore, this terrifying story of the Night of Wishes serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of granting wishes without considering the real repercussions. The next story. Have you ever pondered what would happen if you happened upon a town that isn't shown on any maps while on a road trip? Picture the scene. A group of pals chooses to go on an adventure since they are excited and full of enthusiasm for the new year. They laugh and tell stories while driving down empty roads while the music is blasting. However, their enjoyment is cut short when they take an unanticipated diversion that takes them to a ghost town, a location that appears to have been forgotten throughout time. A weird apprehension comes over them as they walk in. The air is heavy with a deafening silence that seems to shout untold stories, and the houses are in ruins, coated in dust and ivy. They start to notice unsettling details as they investigate. Unbeknownst to them, they have entered a world where the living and the dead interact in ways that are unthinkable, as evidenced by the shadows shifting at the periphery of their eyesight and the distant laughter resonating on the wind. There are 5 friends in the group: Daniel, the dynamic boss, Louisa the skeptic, Sarah the dreamer, and Pever, Marco, and the adventuresome one. As they continue to explore the area, the Joker attempts to maintain a lighthearted tone. Their laughter progressively, murmurs of curiosity and a growing sense of dread replace the laughter. The streets are empty, and the windows of the houses appear to be watching them with vacant eyes. An ancient central square with flickering lights that seem to have been there for decades may be found in one corner. As the companions stroll through the empty streets, it appears as though time has stopped, and they come across what appears to be a celebration. Paused in time, the town's residents are ghosts caught in an endless cycle, destined to repeat their final night on Earth. And every area of the town tells a tragic narrative. Despite the melancholy music and the flickering lights, they quickly learn they are not alone. Each darkness conceals a sinister mystery. Daniel makes an effort to remain composed. "Let's look into this together," he adds, his voice resonating in the atmosphere. His comments, nevertheless, are unable to ease the obvious tension. As Sarah continues her exploration, she starts to remember tidbits of the town's past and develops an unexplainable bond with the location. Pictures from a New Year's Eve event that ended tragically, dark visions, muffled screams, and dancing swiftly replaced the flashbacks of fireworks, lighting up the night sky and laughing filling the air. As her pals search for a way out, there are shadows in the midst of the fire. Sarah finds an old clock that indicates the hour when everything changed in the town center, which draws her in. 11:59 p.m. The souls awaken uneasily with every clock chime, reliving their final moments in despair. As the buddies attempt to comprehend what is going on around them, the environment becomes more oppressive. Javier tries to make sense of everything. He looks about suspiciously and claims it's simply our imagination. But Louis feels something more profound. She senses the suffering of those left behind and the melancholy in the air. At that pivotal point, they have to choose between continuing on or giving in to the hopelessness that is threatening to overwhelm them. Every second counts as the clock keeps moving forward. The threat of being stuck in this nightmare indefinitely is drawing near as New Year's Eve draws near. The flickering lights appear to come to life as the mournful music gets louder, leading them into the unknown. They find an ancient diary left in one of the houses as they continue their exploration of the ghost town. The texts are unmistakable, despite the yellowed and aged pages. Last year's evening was beautiful until it grew gloomy. According to the diary, the town's residents spent New Year's Eve with optimism and joy every year, until an unthinkable tragedy resulted from a string of bad luck. During the celebration, a terrible fire spread across Central Square, entangling everyone in a never-ending circle of misery. As the friends learn more about the town's history, their own anxieties start to materialize. Daniel thinks back to his early anxieties about the future. As she feels driven to assist the lost, Sarah battles her own anxieties. As he comes to terms with the possibility that the supernatural is more real than he initially believed, Spirits Pavier faces his skepticism. As night falls, Marco tries to lighten the mood with jokes, but even his humor breaks under the weight of truth. Louisa finds bravery in confronting her own inner problems. They see dance that defies explanation, shadows amid fictitious flames from that terrible fire, and far-off sounds of heartbreaking sobs and laughter. The novel ends in a devastating conclusion where they must face not only the town's ghosts, but also their own inner demons. Their friendship grows stronger as they face together manifestations of psychological terror that hover over them. When they finally reach the center of the town, they discover a big extinguished blaze around by spectral people wearing vintage attire. The spirit appears to be caught between two worlds, one that was joyful and bright before tragedy occurred, and another that was engulfed in anguish and darkness for all eternity at that crucial juncture. One ghost that Sarah has a particular bond with is Eliza, a young woman who perished in the fire many years ago. Eliza explains to them how every town resident attempted to flee, but was trapped between flames. With a shaky voice and tears sparkling in her vacant eyes, Eliza declares, "We are destined to relive this night. To end this cycle, we need your assistance." The friends then realize that before these spirits can get away on their own, they must help them find peace. To release those trapped spirits, they all agree to reenact that initial party. They start over with new resolve. As they collaborate to bring back those long-lost joyful memories, they gather materials to replicate the previous party, including makeshift decorations made from dried branches and withered flowers, music played on antique instruments found in a nearby home, and even manage to light tiny lanterns that mimic fireworks. They feel as though they are frozen in time, and when midnight finally comes, the energy inside them starts to change. With every clock chime echoing in their ears, everyone is prepared for a final party before departing this eerie location. Eliza observes from the shadows with fresh optimism for fresh starts as friends lift their homemade cups toward the sky, bringing back happy memories. Just as the clock strikes 12 with the last chimes, Daniel yells as everyone joins in the collective cheering beneath the starry sky, full of limitless possibilities. Echo loudly as though the whole town is breathing at once, and suddenly something remarkable occurs. The friends experience an overwhelming wave of relief and even joy as those spirits finally find peace after years trapped between two worlds. As they drive away from cursed people, as ethereal figures slowly dissolve into bright sparkles like shooting stars, ascending into the night sky while their laughter fills the air one last time before disappearing completely. Observe how flickering lights finally go out, signifying complete closure on dark, while standing beneath a pristine sky full of dazzling stars. However, after returning home and thinking back on what transpired that evening, they realize that they will never forget what happened or forsake friendships formed in the face of unthinkable hardships. Please remember to like, comment, and share your ideas if you like this mystery-filled, psychologically terrifying story. To keep telling stories like this, your support is essential. To ensure you don't miss any frightful adventures, subscribe to our channel. There are countless more tales to be recounted. We appreciate your participation in this adventure.